Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Lamed Zion in Gitin, as we learned for Fushlam Shaloza ben Ruma and Yosef Israel ben Chaim Michal. We're down on the at the Tana Rabbanan about even with the words Tosis to be Master Elamiyat B'Dor B'Chatzer. Tana Rabbanan. We learned yesterday that the rabbis only gave the takana Il Lazakin started takana prusbul, which enables you to collect the loan after Shemitah, even after the end of the Shemitah year, which normally cancels the loan. So that's only takana if the borrower, if the borrower has property, because that's usually the way loans are done. If he has no property, the creditor would lend him money. So here he says, let's say he doesn't have any. Let's say the borrower really doesn't have any karka. We learned yesterday the creditor could even give him a little sliver, a piece of land or something just to be a yotzei. But let's say he has no karka, but the guarantor has karka. That's good if also codes for the because that's also normal. That's why you have usually an RA, because you're afraid that the borrower won't be able to pay back, so you have a guarantor. Let's say let's say neither the borrower nor the creditor nor the guarantor has any karka, but somebody owes him money. The borrower, right? The borrower, you have the creditor and the borrower. The borrower doesn't have any karka, neither does his guarantor, but somebody else owes him money. He has karka. Then also customers he could write a principle, Rav Nassim, because then it's like the borrower itself has the money. But Rav Nassim's Allah at the time of Nassim, famous thing was called Shiur to Rav Nassim Omer. Let's say A owes money to B and B owes money to C. How do you take it from A and give it to C? Because A owes it to B and B owes it to C, so it's like C has a lien on it. It's a strange lashon. Give it to him that he was guilty to. In other words, that he's obligated to. So since B is obligated to A and C is obligated to B, it's like C is obligated to A also. So therefore, if C has karka, that's good enough. You can write a principle for that too. I'm sorry, if I said, if the example I gave, if A has karka and A owes money to B and B owes money to C, then C can write a principle for the loan that he has on B, because since A owes him money, it's as if A owes money to C. And he has karka. That's the point. He owes money to karka. He owes money to him, and he is the one. And if A has karka, so it's like it's an example of where you would write a principle, because if the borrower doesn't have karka, nor does his guarantor, but if somebody owes him money, in this case it's A, that's as if the borrower himself has the karka, and therefore you write a principle. It's not us smack in the middle of the page. So the question is, when Shemitah Minatorah knocks off the loan, we learned, okay, at the time when Shemitah was Noeg, when Yovel was Noeg, certainly it's Doraisa, but even if it's Bismanazeh, the question is, does it knock off any loan, whether it's a written loan or an oral loan? So he says, what does it mean, Bei Bishtar, Ben Shlo Bishtar? Ravish Machlokas, Ravish Muldam Tabayo, Bishtar, Shtar, Sheish, Ba'achrayis, Chasim. Only a document that has in it a lien on real property, on real estate. Bishtar, Sheish, Ba'achrayis, Chasim. It has a lien with the Chasim. That's a written one normally has that. So when we say it collects with the star, that means a star that has a real property as a lien. Shelo Bishtar, doesn't mean there's really no document. There is really a document. There is an IOU, except it doesn't have any lien in there. Koshkin Milvapeh certainly can knock off Milvapeh. In other words, if Shemitah has the power to knock off even a loan that has real property mortgaged on it, there's a lien on it. That's the star, and if it does, that's what I mean by bishtar. And shelo bishtar means it knocks off a loan that is not backed by any real estate. Certainly, it can knock off an IOU, a simple IOU that has no writing at all. There's no document there at all. That's how Rav and Shmuel, Rav Yochanan, understand it differently. Is this: when it says that the Shemitah knocks off, releases, right, cancels a loan, that it says Bein Bishtar, Bein Shlo Bishtar, means this: Bishtar is Shtar Shein Bo Achrayis L'Chasim. Shtar means a star that has no Achrayis L'Chasim. In other words, it's a loan that is not backed by any real estate. There's no real estate mortgage in the IOU in the document. Shelo Bishtar means Meval Peh. Certainly knocks that up. If a star has a lien on real property, and Mashamik, which is a big chiddush, as we'll see. We don't hold that way at the end. He says if a star has an IOU, a real lien on property. It's mortgage. It's more property mortgage. In other words, I'm borrowing $1,000 and I mortgage it with my real estate. Then Shemitah doesn't knock it off. So says Rabbi Yochanan Mishlakesh. Tani goes Rabbi Yochanan Mishlakesh. So we even have a brayso like him. Shtar chov mishamet. Shtar chov can be canceled. If it is real estate, lien, mortgage in the loan, then Shemitah does not release the loan. Tanidach, another brayso like this. Let's say in the IOU he said, listen, I'm going to guarantee with this particular piece of land, and I'm detailing the delineating the land, showing exactly what it is. And another brayso also said, if you have an exact piece of land that it's that the loan is mortgaged to, then Shemitah is not going to flow. Not only if you specify the land. Now, if you even if he doesn't write, I'm mortgaging. Normally with a loan, it's mortgaged like you mortgage your house, so that's this particular house. Here he says, even if you mortgage all your assets, all my assets are obligated and guaranteed l'cha, and a mishamet. Okay, the Shemitah does not knock it off because you've guaranteed it with your real estate, with your assets. So that's how we see a raya l'cha to Rabbi Yochanan Mishlakesh, which means that Shemitah does not knock off real mortgages according to this. Okay, so it's not clear, right? We just says Shemitah Tishmitana Tashta. We don't really know. I mean, the pasuk doesn't say which one it is. It's up to the rabbis to explain. When the Torah says that Shemitah is Mishame, which kind of loans? Is it an IOU, an oral loan? That for sure. A document that it's written down, but there's nothing mortgaged in it. Could be that the svara is that if it's, as we'll see, if you have a particular piece of land that's mortgaged to it, it's like the loan is paid back already. So therefore, it's not like you have to come and collect it. It's like it's paid back. That's the svara for this. As we'll see in a case where you gave a mashkam and you gave a real collateral for it. Fine, but we're going to see that's not the halacha. That we're going to see in a minute that Rabbi Yochanan said that, and there were brises that way too. But we're going to see it come out at the end and see from the Rambam Seichen also. A shtar that has that has a lien on it, still Shemitah will take that off because Torah says all loans are canceled by Shemitah. Here's a story. Kravid Ravasi, the relative Ravasi, Havadeh Ushtara, they had a loan that was outstanding. Rashi says that that he was the malva, that the relative of Ravasi was the malva, and he had an IOU in there that was written with a mortgage of property. Also came before Ravasi. This relative came for Ravasi. Amalei Mishamin Mishamin. Does Shemitah take it off? In other words, it's the end of Shemitah has happened. The end of the 7th year passed by. This Shemitah, is it canceled or not? Amalei and Mishamin. No, he has a chrayas the chasam in there. So he told him. Ravasi said it's not knocked off. You can still collect. Shafke, he left him. Came for Rabbi Yochanan. I don't know why he left him and came to Rabbi Yochanan. Maybe because he felt that he couldn't get a psak from his own relative and he couldn't rely on that. So he came for Rabbi Yochanan. Amalei Mishamin. So he told him that it does knock off. Even though there's a lien of mortgage in there, the loan is released, is canceled. Also, Ravasi came, he heard that what Rabbi Yochanan said, came for Rabbi Yochanan. He says, does it knock off? He says, but you just said, Rabbi Yochanan Mishlakesh said that if there's a mortgage, if the IOU has a mortgage in there for real estate, that the loan's not canceled. We had this far before. Just because I estimate and I think that should be the halacha, because it's collected nasa ma'aser, we're going to paskin that way. Not going to paskin that way. In other words, not going to knock off the loan. Right? I'm not going. What happened over here is the Torah says that Shemitah knocks off the loan, so the borrower doesn't have to pay back. Now I say, yeah, but if there's a lien of mortgage in there, it's sort of like it's been paid back, so he shouldn't be able to. He shouldn't. So therefore he should be able to collect. The answer is I'm not sure about it. When we have a question, we take money from somebody, right? The one who wants to take the money, the one who's muhsik, the one who's holding the money, he's got the stronger hand. The one who wants to take it away has to make a proof. It's just because nasa ma'isa, I'm not going to do that, and therefore I'd rather say that the loan is canceled. I'm not going to make the borrower pay back. I think that it should be that he shouldn't have to pay it back, right? I'm saying I think it should be that he should pay it back because it's mortgage, so it's like it's collected already. That's what I think. But the fact is, I'm not going to paskin that way. So that's what I think. I asked him if he asks me as far, I will tell you that it's like it's collected already, and she have to pay it back. But I'm not going to pass it the way I'm also mechaber all the raya. So I'm not going to nasa myself the hosim menagiyat. I'm not going to take it away from him. So therefore, he paskin no that the loan is canceled. We have a brisa like you that if the IOU has a lien of mortgage in the IOU, it's like it's collected, and you could collect that loan even after Shemitah was over. We had this Shami back in Sota, where let's say you had to bring the woman to drink the main marim, and on the way, before she got to drink, the husband died. So what do you do in a case like that? So they say, the Shami says they get the ksuba and they don't drink, right? They get the ksuba. Why? It hasn't been collected yet. Maybe she's not entitled to it. But a shtar she has a ksuba that's ready to be collected to collect with that document. It's as if it's collected already. So maybe that brisa goes like the Shami said, that since the mortgage, the IOU has a mortgage in it, a real estate, so it's like it's collected already. But we don't paskin that way. In other words, we're paskening that Shemitah knocks off any loan, any regular loan, whether it's a milval peh, whether it's a milval shtar without a lien of property, whether it's a shtar with property, still Shemitah cancels it. When doesn't Shemitah cancel? We'll see that in a minute. We learn like this. Malva eschaver mos ala mashkon. Let's say he gave him collateral. I don't have an IOU, a piece of paper. What is a mortgage? You go to the bank, give you a mortgage. It's like an IOU. You sign. You owe them money, and you guarantee it with your house, right? That's your guarantee with real estate. Do they take anything? No. All they got is paper, right? They just got a paper. That would be canceled by Shemitah, basically. That would be canceled by Shemitah. Unless you have a principal, the Shemitah would cancel it. But let's say they took a mashkin. I borrowed money from you, and I gave you a silver bar, a gold bar. I borrowed $1,000, and I gave you a gold bar which is worth $1,000. Hold on to it until I pay you back. Now, since you're holding the bar in your hand, it's like you've collected it already. Then Shemitah would knock that off. That's what he says here. Malbus chaver mos ala mashkon, or a mos shows the best, or you gave your shtar to Bezdin. That's like a prusbul. And a mishamtin. Shemitah does not release those loans. So Bishlam mos shows the best. I understand the top silu. Bezdin's holding on to the loans. You're no longer claiming it. You're not grabbing it from them. Bezdin's holding on to it, and they're like Rashi says, hefker Bezdin hefker. They could decide who the money belongs to. So they could say that even though Shemitah L'chorah cancels it, but we're collecting it. It's not, you're not over in lo yigos. Rashi says and Bezdin could say the money belongs to us, or take it away from this person, give it to that person, like we saw yesterday. That hefker Bezdin hefker, right? So Bishlam of Moshe shows Bezdin Topsu Beidina Ela Milva Mashu my time. What's the reason why if you loan something and you give collateral for it, that Shemitah doesn't knock that off, right? That doesn't knock that off. My time Omer Rabba Mishum the toughest slave, because he's holding on to it. I'm holding on. I borrowed $1,000 from you, and I gave you my gold bar. You're holding on to that bar, so it's like you already collected. So let's say I borrowed $1,000 from you, and you're living in my chatzer. Does that also mean that you own my chatzer now? You held on to it. How does that work? Right? It's also, but also if you live in my chatzer, so you're saying since you're grabbing onto it, it's like you've collected. Would you say that's the same thing? Not a case of a gold bar. I didn't give you my gold bar, but you're living in my chatzer. It's also like you collected it. Hachanami says Lo Misham, but also there Shemitah would not cancel a loan because you're holding on to it. I'm late. I'll shiny mashkin. It's if from the mashkin of metalklin, like this gold bar that you're holding on to. To Konile, you acquire it based on Rav Yitzchak. How do we know that the creditor who has collateral in his hand, it's as if he acquired it? The pasuk says l'choti it's stuck. Remember, you take a pledge, a collateral from Mana, her blanket or her pillow, whatever, and you take that from her, and if you give it back to her at night for her to use because she needs it, right? So you give back to it, it says l'choti it's stuck. That'll be like charity on your part. Why is it charity? If I give you something which is not mine, which is yours, why is that charity? The answer is it's considered like it's mine. I get credit for it like charity. It ain't a cone if I don't acquire it stuck. Why is that stuck? If I give something that's of mine, that's charity. If I give something that's not mine, that's not charity. But I mean, here you see that the balchov, the creditor, acquires the collateral. So therefore, as opposed to an IOU, even an IOU that has a lien of mortgage in it. No, that's not collected. We don't hold like Beishami that a document which stands to be collected is like it's collected. Therefore, Shemitah would knock that off if you don't have a principal, right? But a mashkam, even without a principal, helps. If I gave you a gold bar for the $1,000 that you lent me, and you're holding on to that gold bar, it's like you collected it already, and therefore, this Shemitah would not knock that off. Would not knock that loan off, even if there was no principal. We learned there. Where is that in Shvius? If you let's say you want to pay back your loan, and it's after Shvius. He says B'Shvius, he really means like Rav says at the end of Shvius, because in the middle of the Shvius year, it hasn't happened. Shemitah only knocks off the loan, cancels the loan at the end of Shemitah, at the end, the last day of the year, after the Shemitah is over, meaning on Rosh Hashanah, when the new year begins, then the loan's canceled. But until the end of the year, the loan isn't canceled. It's not like the Shemitah for crops for the whole year you can't plant. Shemitah's Ksufim is at the very end of the year. That's how we pass them. So let's say Shemitah's over. The year's over. It's now Rosh Hashanah. It's a Tzom Gedalia. And the borrower comes to pay back the loan. He says, I know the Shemitah. I want to pay it back anyway. I want to do what's right. I took the money from the guy. I'd like to pay it back. So the creditor has to say, I release the loan. He has to say, it's released. He has to say those words. If the borrower says, well, even so, I'd like to pay it anyway. I know you've released it, but I want to be a mensch. I want to pay it back anyway. Zed the Bar Shemitah. Zed Bar Shemitah is teaching us that you have to say Shemitah. In other words, that the creditor has to say, you want to pay it back, you should know that the loan is released. The Shemitah is passed, the loan is released. We're, of course, talking about what you don't have a principal. You could pressure him until he says it, like hang him up. The creditor could tell the borrower, can hold him up, like hold him up by his shirt, hang him up and say, don't you want to pay it anyway? I have an obligation to say that it's released, but don't you really want to pay me? The gun to your head, you could do that. Esvei, what do you mean? You could even do that. Esvei, abayek shu nosing lo. When he gives him the money, the borrower shouldn't say, I'm paying back my loan. The truth is, it's really my money. I'd like to give you a gift. Right? So the point is, it sounds like the borrower has to come forth and say, despite the fact I don't really owe you the money, I want to pay. Not that the creditor can force it. It's like when he means that also, the creditor can pressure him and hang him up until he says, yeah, I'd like to give it of my own free will. Abba Bar Marsa, Davi Abramunim, that was his name. He had two names. Abba Bar Marsa, Davi Abramunim. Maybe Martha was his mother and Abramunim was his father. Anyway, Havi Masakbe Rabba Zeus. He owed Rabba some money. He owed Rabba, who was a great rabbi. Rabba was the teacher of Abai and Rabba, and he raised Abai, we did in many places. So he owed Rabba some money. So this Abba came to pay him back with Shvius, meaning at the end of the Shemitah year. Rabbi said the rule. What's the rule? The creditor is supposed to say, it's released. It's released, right? Sheklin of Basel. So this Abba, said, it's released. Good. I turned around and went home. Abai came, there's a student of Rabba. He learned in Rabba's house. He saw that Rabba was very sad. Why you said, this is the story. The guy owed me money. I did the right thing. I said, I'm released. He didn't say, despite that, I'd like to give you a gift. I'd like to pay. He didn't say that. So I lost my money. So Abai went to this Abba and he said, I'm the slave Suzy Lamar. Did you pay him? Did you pay Rabba the money you owed him? What did he tell you? Rabba said, I release you from the loan. Did you tell him, even so, I'd like to pay it anyway? I didn't tell him that. He released me from the loan. I took him at his word and I went home. Had you told him that, had you told him, even so, I'd like to pay, he would have taken the money from you. So therefore, go back now. Go back. I'm Pinala, go pay him back. And tell him, even though you released me, I'd like to pay it anyway as a gift. Also went paid. I'm Pinala, and he paid him. He said, even he gave him the money. He said, even though you released me, I still want to pay you anyway. Sheklim took the money from him. Omar. Rabba said about that person, presumably he said it to himself, because people look this guy had no brains originally. And as he's a student, he should have known I'm supposed to release you, and you're supposed to say, even though you released me, I'd like to pay you anyway.
Why did he write him?
Yeah, why didn't he write a postball? Yeah, so very good. It could be that that's a good question. Why didn't he write himself a postball? Maybe there was nobody to give it over to. There was no besin. That's a good question. Why didn't he write a postball? But apparently he didn't write a postball. For whatever reason, he didn't write a postball. He should write a postball, but he didn't. And he was after the takana. Maybe he was in a place where he wasn't a proper bezdin. I don't know. Good point. Good question. Pardon? Yeah. Well, he was after Hill. He knew about it. I'll be shikna. So it says he didn't have any. He didn't understand. Amrav Nachman. Listen to this. Nachman says, a person's believed to say, when it comes to God and comes to business, I like to collect. Well, it's past Shemitah. I had a principle, I lost it. He's believed that. Why? My time, he came to Kim Rabban principle. Since the Rabban gave you a legal way to collect even after the Shemitah, why would you not do it? Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? What are you going to do? Wait till after Shemitah's over and then try to say, I lost it. You believe to say you lost. Why would you lo shavekatera the milva below prusbul lememer havili ba'achli surah by havili ba'avad ba'achli surah? Why would you do that? In other words, why would you lie? Just get a prusbul. In other words, a person wouldn't lie to say I had one and I lost it, because why wouldn't he get one? Just go get one, like you say. Robert could have gotten one himself. Came to go run prusbul shavekatera ba'achli surah. But Moshe Feinstein says from here also today when you have you can't pay back a loan, with interest today unless you had a heteriska. As a person believed to say, I had a heteriska, also because why wouldn't you do it? If the only way that you could borrow money or lend money is with interest today, because otherwise nobody's going to lend you money for no interest. So you do it with a heteriska. So you're believed to say, I had an heteriska, I lost it, I dropped it, I lost it, I felt something because why wouldn't you do it? If there's an illegal way to do it, why would you do it in a legal way and say, I had one, I didn't lose, and I lost it? He's believed to say he lost it because why wouldn't he take advantage of it? If he has a way out, he could have done the prusbul. So he's probably telling you the truth when he says, I had it and I lost it. Even to get Rabban Prusbul, because you're not going to do something which is mutter. You had a legal way to do it, and why would you do it without one? So therefore, he also came to Rav and came for Rav Amalei, he would tell people. They came for Rav to collect the loan. He says, "Where's you have an IU? Where's the prusbul? Wasn't there a prusbul? It's like you give an opening to a dumb person, a person who can't speak. In other words, you help him out. He came here and he didn't you have a prusbul? And he says, oh yeah, I had one. I lost it. You believe him because why wouldn't he take advantage of it? Why not bother? Good point about why didn't Rav have one. It's not. Now we have the Bryce says otherwise. Bryce says if a creditor comes and he brings a shtar chov, the guy owes me money, and there's no prusbul, you shouldn't pay it. Why don't you say also? What do you mean you shouldn't pay it? Why don't you assume he had a prusbul? Tell him, didn't you have one and you lost it? We would believe it. Smash me if you didn't have a prusbul, you don't. So Gemara Taka said some machlokes tanam. The Tanya motzi shtachov. You have to have a prusbul. Chomrum ain't a tzorch. You don't have to have a prusbul. He's believed to say I lost it. So that's the question. Once you make the rule about prusbul, do you say like Rav Nachman that a person's believed to say he had it, he lost it? Because why wouldn't you do it? It doesn't cost anything, right? Just give a prusbul and you'll be able to collect the loan. So he's probably believed to say I had one and I lost one, and you don't say like the Tanakama here, who says that without a prusbul you can't collect. Now the Mishnah goes on to talking about avodim. Now, as we'll see about this Eved Shenishba, an Eved that was taken into captivity. You had an Eved Kanani, a Jew had an Eved Kanani. He's allowed to have an Eved Kanani, and he was taken captive by the goyim, by the idolaters. Upadu, and another Jew ransomed him. Now, there's a mitzvah to ransom somebody who's taken into captivity. That's by a Jew. If a Jew is taken into captivity, it's a mitzvah ransom. Is there a mitzvah to ransom an Eved Kanani who also has some mitzvahs or not? That we'll see is the discussion here. So Eved Shenishba Upadu, and Reuven was the master. He owned this Eved, and he was taken into captivity by Goyim. And Shimon came along and ransomed him. Im l'shem Eved Yishabed. If he was ransomed to be an Eved, right, for Shimon, then he can be enslaved by Shimon. So we'll see if it's from Shimon or Reuven, who he's going to be enslaved to. Im l'shem Echad, if he ransomed him in order to be free, because as we'll see, he thought he thought that he's ransoming him to be free, that it's a mitzvah. I'm ransoming him to be free, so he'll be a free man. He'll have all the mitzvahs. Lo yishtab, but then you shouldn't enslave him. In other words, the Eved should go free. That's what the Tanna comes of. But either way, he can be enslaved. We'll see, enslaved by Reuben, the original owner. What's the case over here? If Reuben, who was the original owner, did not give up on his ownership, he didn't abandon him. If it's before Yish, why do you say that if you ransomed him for being ben choron, you shouldn't enslave him? Why? Reuben still owns him. Reuben never gave up on him. The guy that was taken captive by the guy, he stole him from me. I never gave up on him. He's mine. So he say if he was ransomed to be a free man, he shouldn't enslave him. Why not? He belongs to Reuben. Elachish must be speaking about after Yish, Reuben gave up on him. So the Shem Eved Ma'ishtabet. If Shimon ransomed him in order to be an Eved, then he should be enslaved to Shimon. Why? He gave up on him. Or the Shem Yishtabet. Why should he be Mishtabet to Reuben? Right. So we'll see who we're talking about in a minute. So why should he be enslaved at all? Elach, if it's after Yish, if he was ransomed after he gave up, why should he be? If he gave up on him, why should he be enslaved at all? So Abaye, there's two ways to learn Abaye and Rava. Abaye says we're speaking about four Reuben ransomed up. Okay, he didn't give up on it. So he said if he ransomed him to be an Eved, maybe he ransomed to be an Eved for himself, for Shimon, but he still belongs to Reuben. How did Shimon take it away from Reuben? Sure, you did a nice mitzvah, you ransomed him, but he still belongs to Reuben. So L'shum Eved Yishav L'Rav Rishon. L'shum Ben Chorin, if he ransomed him to be a free man, again, why should he says over here, Lo Yishtabed, he shouldn't be enslaved. Why not? He still belongs to Reuben. Lo Yishtabed, Lo L'Rav Rishon, Lo L'Rav Sheni, he shouldn't be enslaved at all. L'Rav Sheni, Lo L'Shum Ben Chorin Parkei. Shimon redeemed to be a free man. So Shimon certainly can't enslave him. He redeemed him for the purpose of being a free man, right? To have all the mitzvahs. The Rabbi Rishon Namilo, but he shouldn't even be enslaved to his first one, even though he didn't give up on him yet. Why? The Rabbanan made Xera, because if he's going to be enslaved, nobody will redeem him. In other words, if he's a half Jew, right? He's an Eved Knani. So an Eved Ivri or a regular Jewish person, if he's taken into captivity, it's a mitzvah to redeem him, to ransom him. But over here, if you're going to say that when you ransom him, he's anyway going to be an Eved, people maybe will say, I don't want. What's the point? It's not a mitzvah over here. People will refrain from redeeming him. So therefore, ransoming him. So therefore, we say that if you redeem him to be a free person, okay, he can't go back to the second guy because even a free person, the second he doesn't belong to Lo Rav Sheni. If he did what? Where we say that Lo Yishtab Lo Rav Sheni, if he brings the Rav Sheni because he redeemed to be a free man, and even to the first Rav, to Reuven, to the original owner, why shouldn't he go back to him? Just because you redeemed him to be a free man, what does that mean? It's still owned by Reuven. The answer is made Xera because otherwise nobody will redeem him. So therefore, because they're afraid of why should I redeem him if he's going to be a slave anyway? So mitzvah, and therefore we said that if you redeem to be a free man, he shouldn't be enslaved by either one. If you redeem to be an Eved, okay, fine. So he goes to Rav Rishon. He goes back. If you redeem to be an Eved, if you did that already, so he's Meshubal again. We said if it's the Shem Ben Chorin, neither one. What does Rav Shimon Gamliel say? Shimon Gamliel said that Misha Ben Gavachad either way he's enslaved. Shimon Gamliel Ben Gavachad like suburb change mitzvah to Ben Chorin kach mitzvah let us bottom. He says no. Nobody's going to refrain from redeeming him just because he's an Eved Knani. Eved Knani also has mitzvahs, just like it's a mitzvah to redeem a Jewish person. It's a mitzvah to redeem an Eved Knani too. So they won't refrain from doing it. So again, if you redeemed him to be an Eved, if it was before Yish, and you redeemed him to be an Eved, so he goes back to Reuben. And even if you redeemed him to be a free man, he still is enslaved by Reuben. Reuben owns him, right? Reuben owns him. You can't free him based on that. You did a mitzvah, but he still belongs to Reuben. That's how Abaye learns, because Abaye says it's all speaking about before Yish. Reuben never gave up on him. Rava says La'olam Nachi Yish. Reuben gave up on his ownership. He abandoned him because he gave up. He said the Goyim took him. If Shimon redeemed him, ransomed him to be an Eved, then he goes to Rav Sheni. Why? We'll see why. How did he acquire him? He acquired him from the guy, right? He paid for him. Why? Because Reuben gave up on him. So if Reuben gave up on him, and Shimon redeemed him from the guy, it belongs to Shimon to be redeemed to be a slave. If he redeemed to be a free man, then he shouldn't go back to the first master or to Reuben or Shimon. Why? The Rabbi Sheni lo do Shimon Chor, he redeemed to be a free man. He redeemed to be a free man. The Rabbi Rishon Amilo the Lach years after years. So if he redeemed to be a free man, if Shimon redeemed to be a free man, well, Shimon doesn't want to enslave him. He said, "I'm redeeming him to be a free man," and he doesn't go back to Reuben. Reuben gave up on him. Either way, he could be enslaved by Reuben. Why? Reuben gave up on him, right? Why do we say that either way Reuben can enslave him? Very simple. It's one thing for a guy to come in and steal your stuff. It's another thing for an Eved to run away. It's easy for him to run away. So a guy, think about it. The Eved will say, "Why should I be working for Reuben? Let me go run to the Goyim. I'll give myself up to the Goyim. Some Jew will redeem me. Either he'll redeem me a free man, so I'm better off. And if he doesn't redeem me to be a free man, or redeem me as a slave, I'm no worse off than I am now, right? Maybe he'll be a nicer master than this guy, so I've got nothing to lose." So every slave is going to run away, right? If you say that you redeem him, right? So either way, Shemuel says, they said that. Why do we say that if Yishavish? Otherwise, every slave will just run away and he'll give himself up to the Goyim and figure I'll get away with this. So if man at the corner know that either way he goes back to the first master, to Reuben, even though Reuben abandoned him because he gave up because he thought he wouldn't get him back. Meisvei. Shemuel said to the rabbis, "Change from mitzvah to Shnei Chorin." This is as far we had in Abaye. Just like it's a mitzvah to redeem a free man, a regular Jew.
That's assuming that he'll be redeemed.
Yeah, he's got nothing to lose, right? I think he's got nothing to lose because he knows that the Jews always redeem the slaves. So he figures, I'm no worse off than I am now.
No, but if he's going back to the Goyim, he's not going to get. He's going to get it worse. I don't understand.
What's going to be worse?
If let's say the guy escapes, he says where is he going to run to? He's going to run to another Yid. He's not going to.
No, he's going to run to a guy.
And he's going to hope that he gets this. He hopes that it gets freed.
He hopes he assumes they'll get free because the Jews always redeem their own, including the Canaan. So he figures if he redeems me to be a free man, it's even better. I got my freedom. If he redeems me to be a slave, no worse off than I am now. That's why he would run away. So now the Gemara asks, it's a mitzvah either way. So that's as far according to Abaye. Abaye says that the whole case is 4 years. And the Kamar, what do we say? That Shemuel said, before years, he goes back, if you redeem them to be an Eved, right, goes back to Reuben. And if you redeemed him, Shimon Chorin, you shouldn't. The Tanakhama said you shouldn't redeem him. He shouldn't be enslaved to either one. The Rabbi Sheni because he redeemed to be a free man, and to Rabbi Rishon also because otherwise people won't redeem him. People say, why should I redeem a slave if he's going to be a slave? It's no mitzvah. So Rabbi Shemuel says no, it's a mitzvah to be to redeem even a slave. So this makes sense according to Abaye. Shemuel's retort to the Rabbanan, you say that the reason why if you redeem him to be, we're talking about for 4 years. So if you redeem to be a slave, certainly it goes back to Reuben. Even if you redeem to be a free man, though the Tanakhama said nobody should take him. Shimon certainly redeemed them to be a free man, so he should be free, and he shouldn't go back to Reuben even though it was for 4 years, because otherwise people will refrain from redeeming slaves. Shemuel says no, there's a mitzvah either way. So they won't refrain, and it's the 4 years. Therefore, he goes back to Reuben. That's what Shemuel says. So Bishlam makes sense what Shemuel says. You're shame. If it's la'achiyish, he gave up. In other words, Reuben gave up on him. Hi kashem. It's not because of kashem that he goes back to Reuben. The reason is because of Chizkiya's reason, which is so the special takana that slaves shouldn't go run away, give themselves up to the goyim in order to get out of their bondage to Reuben. So that's the reason why, not because of this svara. So according to this brisa, Rav Shimon says the reason of Abaye. So Abaye makes sense, but Rava doesn't make sense. Amlecha. So Amlecha. So Rava will answer. Amlecha Rava. He didn't know what the meant, and he wasn't sure if to talk before years or after. If you're talking about before years, so if you say that the case, what that if you redeemed him for to be a ben chorin, he shouldn't be enslaved by either one. If it's before years, hainu kashem. That's now I'm giving you the svara. But if it's before years, you should go back to the first master, to Reuben. You tell me because no, he shouldn't go back. Otherwise, people won't redeem him. No, they will. Just like it's a mitzvah to redeem a Jewish person, so it's a mitzvah to redeem a Kanani. Ila after years, and if you talk about after years, so then I'll tell you like Chizkiah. If it's after years and Reuben has given up on him, I still say he goes back to Reuben because of the reason of Chizkiah, because otherwise slaves will go and give themselves up to the Goyim. So to keep that from happening, we say he always has to go back to Reuben. Ula Rabba the Malachi Yish, Ula Rabba Sheni, according to Rabba, who says that it's speaking Malachi Yish, and he goes back to the second master again. When if it's after Yish and he redeemed them to be a slave, he goes to the second master. Rabba Sheni Mankana, who did he acquire him from? Bishavoy, from the captors, from the Goyim. Shavoy Guf Mikana, how did they acquire him? Even though they can't acquire an Eved Kanani, own him Guf, he owned them for his work. He owns his work product is owned. How do we know that a goy can acquire another goy? At this point, the Eved Kanani is like a goy. So he says, how do you know you can acquire him to be for his work? You Jews, you can acquire goyim from like Toshavim, the ones who live, the ones who keep Zion mitzvahs in Eretz Yisrael. You can acquire them. What does it mean? You can acquire from them. So the drush is atim kanim, and you can buy of them below him kanim kem. The goyim cannot buy Jews. Goyim cannot own Jews. Below him comes, and said they also cannot acquire one another. So the Gemara says, you might think that they can't acquire one another. What do you mean yachal? You said lo him come. You said they actually can't acquire. Then so what do you mean? Maybe you think you can. Lo him comes and said they can legufo. They can't acquire Jews. Goyim can't acquire Jews. They can't own a Jew, and they can't acquire one another. They can't own him. But you might think that they can't acquire one another, even for his work product, for own his work product. Amri Kavachomer, Avikam Yisrael Kona. If an Avikam can own Yisrael for his work product, right? As we see that in Sukkim in Vayikra, where it talks about that if you're sold for your work, they should be paid to you, etc. If a goy can own a Jew for his work, certainly can own a goy. So maybe that's only if he buys him with money, because goy can only acquire with money. A Jew can acquire something with a chazaka, showing ownership, showing proprietary ownership by making some kinyan. But over here, how did he acquire? That's maybe with money. We have a klal. Ammon and Moab were conquered by Sichon, and from them the Jews were able to acquire him from Sichon. Not they couldn't acquire directly from Ammon and Moab, but from Sichon. How did Sichon acquire Ammon and Moab? By chazaka, by showing ownership, by taking over the land and showing chazaka. So you see that a guy could also make a chazaka. That's fine, but a guy can acquire from another guy with chazaka. How do we know that another can acquire Yisrael when he acquires him for his work product? He doesn't own the body. Talmud, the Sivit says this week's parsha, Chukas Vayish Bihenu Shevi, and he took captive from him and he owned him that way. So a guy can own a Jew for his work product. So again, the question was, how did the Shimon acquire the Eved Kanani? So he acquired him from the captives, right, from Shroy. How did they acquire him? They acquired him from Isiyot, as we've explained. They can't acquire, a goy can't acquire another goy or a Jew for sure for his goof, but he could acquire him for his work product. And that's what he kept her. He got from his work. He didn't really own his body. He owned just his work product. All right, we'll pick him here tomorrow from Amrav Shaman Bar Abba Mabil. Have a good day.